Coming up on the January 26th edition of Sports Extra. Things got a little too close for comfort in the Dean Dome, but Carolina pulled out another victory. How the Heels survived the Seminoles.
There are holes all over Kenan, and no, it's not in the defense. We get down and dirty to check out changes on the football field.
And have you wondered how we put together stories here on Sports Extra? Of course you have. We'll take you behind the scenes and show you how the magic happens. All that and more, Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
It's been a while, and you know we missed you. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Alana Albrecht, and a new semester means new sports.
And new faces. I'm Andrew Stern. One thing that isn't new, though, the repercussions from the Weinstein report. The NCAA and its member schools rake in millions of dollars each year, but that money doesn't go to athletes in the form of checks. Instead, schools promise those students an education in return for their athletic talents. Kristen Lee joins us live from our satellite studio with details about a lawsuit which argues that student athletes. Kristen?
Andrew, this is 100 pages of litigation welcoming student athletes from across the country to join the class action lawsuit. It's a debate that's raged nationally for years. And the resolution could come right here in the Triangle. Two former UNC student athletes are suing the NCAA and UNC to bring about educational reforms. UNC women's basketball player Rashonda McCants and former football fullback Devin Ramsey filed the lawsuit. At first glance, it seems like the latest bang in a round of attacks following UNC's academic scandal, which revealed 18 years of bogus classes used to keep athletes eligible. But take a closer look. This lawsuit is about the NCAA, and it's the athletes who participated in the corrupt system at UNC who are demanding reforms. According to the lawsuit, the NCAA sat idly by permitting big-time college sports programs to operate as diploma mills that compromise educational opportunities and future job prospects of student athletes for the sake of wins and revenues. UNC is highlighted in the complaint as an extreme example of corruption and lack of NCAA oversight. Chancellor Carol Folt did little more than acknowledge the lawsuit at a recent faculty council meeting.
Now, I know that you've all probably noticed that we have another lawsuit.
The handlers for McCants' former coach, Sylvia Hatchell, quickly put a stop to her comments.
I really don't know. I haven't talked to anybody. I really don't know anything about it.
McCants and Ramsey, just two of the former Tar Heels whose names have been tied to the fraudulent or easy classes. Former football players such as Michael McAdoo, Marvin Austin, Robert Quinn, Tydreek Powell, and Julius Peppers, and basketball standouts such as Sean May and Rashad McCants. The complaint contends students weren't aware the classes were bogus. They trusted academic counselors to guide them appropriately. In addition to monetary damages, the plaintiffs seek the formation of an independent commission to review and report on the academic integrity of all NCAA member schools. It's not clear who, or if anyone for that matter, will join McCants and Ramsey. And the NCAA, we did reach out to them, but we have not received a response yet to the lawsuit. Andrew?
Kristen Lee, live in our satellite studio. Thanks, Kristen. So how do you rebound from a giant loss in a bowl game? Apparently, you make a big-time hire, and I do mean big time. UNC has officially hired Gene Chizik as its defensive coordinator. Chizik will be joining a team that had the 117th best defense in the country last year, out of 125. Chizik has spent the past 2 years doing work for ESPN. The former Auburn head coach won a national championship back in 2010. But what can Chizik bring to the Tar Heels as a defensive coordinator? We'll take a look at his time at Auburn. Chizik was defensive coordinator for the Tigers from 2002 to 2004. During that time, Auburn allowed no more than 17.8 points per game in a season, including 11.3 points per game in 2004. Those are some awesome numbers. Chizik came back as head coach from 2009 to 2012. The defense wasn't nearly as great then, though. You can check out those numbers there. But I bet that championship ring will look awfully nice to recruits.
And things aren't just changing off the field for the Tar Heels. If you've had a chance to swing by Kenan in the past few weeks, the field looks a little different. because it's full of holes. AJ Nwoko has more about the construction in Kenan.
Kenan Stadium has become a construction zone. The tar pit that UNC football calls home has been reduced to a canyon of crumbling earth and clay. The sidelines are now caked with 20-foot mounds of decaying infrastructure from years past as construction vehicles shovel and dump and scrape the playing field. And the reason?
This is a 42-inch reinforced concrete pipe currently, and it's goes right down the center of Kenan Stadium.
Director of Energy Services, Phil Barner, has been leading the $2 million project to replace the current stormwater line with a newer 60-inch stormwater line.
The engineer's estimate for this particular section of pipe that's under Kenan Stadium, like I said, was a failure within 5 to 10 years was their estimate, and that was basically 2010.
And through the years, as natural terrain is replaced in favor of concrete and asphalt, Barner says more water flows into the stadium.
So to help alleviate flooding, we're putting a larger line in.
And although Barner says the project is off to a good start, things will look like this for a while.
I know the project is supposed to be done no later than May 1st, so it'll allow for graduation on Mother's Day this year.
And what about this year's spring football game?
I don't know. That's a question for athletics.
And Kevin Robinson has the answer. The facility director said in a statement that although the field won't be ready in time for the spring game, the tentative plan is to have 2 open scrimmages, one in Chapel Hill at the football practice facility on March 28th, and the other in Charlotte on April 11th. In any case, Barner said that all the pipes should be laid and the ground leveled by February 10th, but that extreme weather events could delay the project. And despite the string of warm weather we've been having recently, we still have 8 weeks of winter left. In Chapel Hill, I'm AJ Nwoko reporting.
Robinson says that the plans for the game have not been announced publicly, but will be released in the coming weeks.
Next Wednesday is National Signing Day. We'll find out which high school recruits will be the future of Carolina football. Let's take a sneak peek at what the class of 2015 looks like as of now. According to Rivals.com, Carolina has the 23rd best recruiting class in the country. As of today, the Heels have 19 commitments. It breaks down like this: 0 5-star players, 6 4-star players, and 13 3-star players. UNC's 2 biggest recruits are Tommy Hatton and Jalen Dalton. Hatton is the number 2 center prospect in the nation this year, and Dalton is the number 4 weak side defensive end prospect in the class.
Around signing day, college coaches are chasing big-name high school football players trying to get them to join the team, but not everyone gets recruited. I sat down with a few senior walk-ons to find out what their Carolina football experience was like. There are 22 players on the field during a football game, some with big names like Marquise Williams. But what about the guys who rarely step on the field? Senior Luke Hevner explains life as a walk-on.
Well, you don't get paid, first off, is how it works. So you go through all that, you got to get on the team, you find a way, maybe the coaches find you and talk to you and they're like, hey, we like you, you're really good, but you're not good enough for us to pay you to be here. So then they bring you on as a walk-on.
By pay you, Hevner means getting a scholarship. Senior Carson Wooten knew walking on was still a big commitment.
When I got here, I knew I was going to have to work really hard to even play on the field. A lot of people don't know, but at Division I football, it's hard for walk-ons to even get a shot.
Fellow walk-on Connor Gonette agrees.
That you got to work harder than everybody else, and of course you're not getting paid, you're not getting the free meals, and it's always you got to fend for yourself, kind of.
But that didn't deter Hevner.
Obviously, I'm going to tear it up academically, and I'm going to tear it up on the gridiron.
Starting with his first practice.
Charles Brown, which was a senior cornerback, blindsided me while I wasn't looking, and that was my first practice.
Now finished with his senior season, Hevner has another way to keep football in his life: coaching.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because you've been doing it your whole life and then you just end up, you're not playing anymore. But if Larry wants me to come in and revamp this offense, all he has to do is call. And I'll come in and I could be right back in it, just up in the press box instead of on the field.
Hevner told me they'd have to pay him at least $3 million to make Carolina's offense #1 in the country. 2 tight games for Carolina basketball this weekend.
Could the women's team hold on to beat Duke? Next on Sports Extra. After a bit of a slow start to the season, the Tar Heels are on a roll. 5 straight wins, including Saturday against Florida State. Basketball analyst Brett Thompson joins us live in the studio. Brett, what are the Heels doing better recently?
Thanks, Andrew. The Tar Heels hosted Florida State in the Dean Dome Saturday afternoon in conference action. Bryce Johnson, like a man smoking at the gas station, he was about to blow up. 18 points and 14 rebounds for him. Later on, Marcus Page, booyah, good for 3. And then Page again, as cool as the other side of the pillow. He finished with a team-high 19 points. Less than a minute left, Heels up 8, Kennedy Meeks, straight butter. And Florida State, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up out of here. Carolina holds on 78-74. Let's go back to Bryce Johnson. The forward played one of his best games this season in a Tar Heel uniform. Johnson plays the game emotionally, and against the Seminoles, he channeled this emotion into a monster game. Johnson stayed out of foul trouble, shot 7 of 9 from the field, and ripped down rebounds in critical moments. This is the focused, efficient, and explosive Bryce Johnson UNC needs to contend in the ACC. When Sports Extra last aired, we saw Justin Jackson as the offensive savior the Heels needed. While that didn't quite pan out in December, the freshman is finally hitting his stride in conference play. Jackson has averaged almost 16 points in his past 3 games, and he's been scoring in a variety of ways. Jackson struggled from deep in December, but now he can hit the occasional 3. Jackson is lethal after misses too, scoring efficiently after offensive boards. In the absence of his fellow freshman, Jackson has stepped up for the Tar Heels. These two have stepped up in their play in part because the Tar Heel bench has become shallow in the past few weeks. Before the NC State game on January 14th, UNC announced that Joel Berry would be out of action for a few weeks with a groin injury. That makes him the 3rd guard to miss time this season, joining Stillman White and Luke Davis on the bench. Then, against Wake Forest, Theo Pinson broke his left foot, putting him out of action for at least the next month. This isn't even including Marcus Page's plantar fasciitis or the 15 stitches in Nate Britt's mouth. Roy Williams preaches toughness, and he's getting it from this team.
Well, hopefully these injuries will not come back to haunt us later in the season.
Especially with Syracuse tonight and at Louisville on Saturday. Men's basketball analyst Brett Thompson live in our studio. Thanks, Brett. And speaking of Syracuse, in less than 2 hours, the Heels will go for their 6th straight win. Carolina is taking on the Orange at 7 in the Dean Dome. We go there now live to reporter Tate Frazier.
Hi, Elena. Thanks so much. I am actually at the Dean Dome. We're about an hour and a half from tip-off where the Syracuse Orange will play their first game in Chapel Hill. And I don't have any sympathy for Syracuse, and I have 2 reasons why. First off, Christmas. You love it, right? Wrong. You hate it. Rakeem Christmas on the Syracuse Orange tonight averages 18.3 points per game and 8.9 rebounds per game in ACC play. Another reason not to like it, the Syracuse Dookie of the day, Michael Jabinajay. Jabinajay is the small forward for Syracuse and actually played 1 season at Duke. So there's another reason that Carolina fans won't be really in tune to see what they want to see from the court on the Orange. And also, one last point to make for why you might have a budding rivalry with the Syracuse Orange tonight. Roy Williams is 1-4 against Syracuse, 0-2 as the Tar Heel coach. Throwing it back to you, Elena, and get ready for the tip-off at 7 p.m. tonight. Thanks.
That was Tate Frazier live at the Dean Dome. It's about to get rowdy there. Keep it turned up, Tate.
The 12th-ranked Tar Heel women's basketball team fell to the 15th-ranked Duke Blue Devils 74-67 in overtime Sunday. Boo. Alicia Gray scored a team-high 20 points for the Heels, including this jumper from the top of the key, while Stephanie Mavunga added 15 points and 15 rebounds. Latifah Coleman scored 13 of her 14 points in the first half. But the Heels couldn't shut down Duke's powerhouse, Elizabeth Williams, who scored a career-high 33 points, the most points ever scored by a Duke player against Carolina. Despite Williams owning the paint, the Heels had a chance to win, but couldn't get a good shot off late in the final seconds. Duke dominated in overtime, sending the Heels to their 4th loss of the season. Jacqueline Matter now joins us live in studio to break down where the Heels stand going forward. Jacqueline?
Thanks, Andrew. Now, Stephanie Mavunga, Alicia Gray, and Danielle Butts have been the leaders of this year's team. Against NC State, the three combined for 33 points in a 67-63 win against the Wolfpack. As far as continuing on in ACC play, the Heels will have to improve at the free throw line and work harder to make their shots in the post. How well the Tar Heels do in the long run could depend on freshman Jamie Cherry, a local standout and AP Player of the Year in high school who has seen a lot of action coming off the bench. Her addition has been a plus for this team, and Coach Ashel has done a great job of breaking her in. Looking at this game, it's a heartbreaking loss against Duke. The team watched a 10-point lead at half slip out of their fingers, but Carolina will need to move on from this loss. This core of players was around last year when they made a deep run in the NCAA tournament. They need to turn this bad stretch around. They've lost 2 of the past 4 games, and in the ACC, Andrew, it's really easy to get left behind.
They'll have plenty of time to figure things out, though. UNC has a week off before playing Boston College and Chapel Hill. That was basketball analyst Jacqueline Matter. Thanks, Jacqueline.
It was a sunny Sunday at Boshemer, and the Tar Heel baseball team didn't let it go to waste. The blue team scrimmaged the Navy team to kick off the season. Navy took an early 3-0 lead in the third and never lost that lead, winning 5-4. The games that count start in mid-February. And with baseball season rapidly approaching in Chapel Hill, all eyes will be focused on the Diamond Heels. But Carolina's sustained success through the years isn't exclusively owed to the players. Our Michael Coe has more.
The UNC men's baseball team is one of the most successful varsity programs on campus. The Diamond Heels have been to 10 College World Series, played in Omaha, Nebraska each June, including an appearance just 2 years ago. And this year, Carolina opens the season ranked 17th in the national polls. But it's more than just the coaches and athletes that make this team such a well-oiled machine. Working behind the scenes during every practice and every game are the team managers. The managers have to look after everything from helmets to baseballs to uniforms. Manager Troy Schmidt is in his first year with the team. He talked me through some of the daily tasks the managers have to do.
As a team manager, we just really help out with everyday practice and do a lot of things behind the scenes. We spend a lot of time in the equipment room and on the field helping the coaches.
Managers have to show up every day at practice at the same time as the players. Schmidt says that on most weekdays, baseball takes up most of his time. Because of this, he has to plan accordingly and take care of all of his academics in the morning. It's a very busy schedule. Unfortunately, the team managers don't get the same recognition on game days as the players, but Troy says this doesn't bother him.
When I was in high school, I did the same thing. I was a varsity manager, and I just loved being a part of a team and helping out, and so I knew when I got to Carolina, it's a great program here, obviously, knew I'd want to help out.
The combination of tireless work ethic, love of the game, and the Diamond Heels' obvious talent is definitely a recipe for good team chemistry. And judging by Carolina's baseball pedigree,
Bull into the hole. Here comes Jordan to win it for the Heels.
It seems like that recipe is working. In Chapel Hill, I'm Michael Coe reporting.
The Diamond Heels open the regular season February 13th against Seton Hall. Artificial turf. It's popular to play on.
But is there something in it that could make it dangerous? More when we come back. In men's tennis this weekend, the 7th-ranked Tar Heels pulled out a win against number 38 Virginia Tech, defeating the Hokies 4-1 in Carolina's first ITA kickoff championship. In the singles showdown, Carolina won 3 matches, including Ronnie Schneider's defeat of Andreas Jarius. Add that to the point from doubles play, and UNC pulled out a 4-1 victory against the Hokies. The Tar Heels are now 6-0 and have clinched a berth in the ITA National Team Indoor Championship next month. The Tar Heels' next match will be in Champaign, Illinois against the 11th-ranked Fighting Illini. The women weren't about to be outdone either. Also undefeated, also headed to indoor nationals. The women swept the Minnesota Golden Gophers 4-0 in the opening round of the ITA kickoff weekend. Dynamic duo Kate Vial and Ashley Dye won their doubles match 6-3. The Heels continued their winning streak, defeating LSU on Sunday. With that win, the Tar Heels secured a bid to the ITA Indoor National Championship in Charlottesville.
Now let's move from the court to the mat for a wrestling update. The wrestling team took on Ryder this weekend, fighting back and forth to an eventual 20-13 victory. In their second duel of the day, the Tar Heels dominated George Mason en route to a final score of 29-6. Carolina returns to action February 1st against NC State and Drexel in the first home duel of the season. It's in the Eddie Smith Fieldhouse. Rain came down this weekend, but the women's lacrosse team didn't slip in a scrimmage win against Elon on Saturday. Carolina dominated 28-8, allowing only 2 goals in the second half. Coming back from an ACL injury, last year's National Rookie of the Year, number 10, Sydney Holman, had an outstanding game, scoring goals like that one and returning stronger than ever. The ladies lacrosse team opens up the regular season at home against James Madison on February 1st. Arsenic, nickel, mercury, just a few of the dangerous chemicals found in the artificial turf that athletes across the country and here at Carolina are playing on. Should you be concerned? Some think that the turf and cancer could be linked. Rosita Cox has the story.
Courtney Johnson has been playing soccer since she was 5 years old and says it can get very messy.
I can tell you there's not a day I go home from playing on turf that I don't carry a huge amount of turf home with me. It's all over in my room, in my house.
Artificial turf, known for the little black pellets that get everywhere during a game, in your shoes, in your hair, everywhere. But the messiness isn't the concern. It's the bits of old rubber tire the pellets are made of that could be a major health risk.
There's no question that recycled tire rubber granules contain hazardous chemicals.
Chemicals like lead, carbon black, benzene that could cause major health risk, even cancer, if contact becomes too frequent.
I personally am on the ground 50 times within an hour from diving.
38 American soccer players were diagnosed with cancer just last year. Is this a coincidence? Researchers are saying they can't be sure.
There is biological plausibility when you think about what sort of things are in the artificial turfs.
Johnson says the lack of research about the turf is concerning and scary.
I'm sure the pellets can be made of something that's not healthier, but not as much of a health risk to players.
Johnson says although she's concerned, it's not going to keep her off of the fields. In Chapel Hill, I'm Rosita Cox reporting.
Unfortunately, we do not know how dangerous turf is at this point. The Environmental Protection Agency backtracked its assurance that turf was safe 5 years ago, saying research is limited and inconclusive and therefore cannot guarantee there are no health risks concerning the artificial turf.
Up next on Sports Extra,
we show you a story about the story behind the making of a story.
If you've seen Inception, you know about a dream within a dream.
But what about a story behind the story? Caleb Waters tells us more.
Lights, camera, package. Just as student athletes work to perfect their craft, reporters here at Sports Extra work behind the scenes to put together the show, especially creating video reports, which we call packages.
A lot of work goes into one package. You have to think about the people you're going to interview, the video you're going to shoot, and then the editing process is definitely the most time-consuming.
For Sports Extra, video packages require hours of outside work. While the process is time-consuming and technical, the product is worth it. One of the Sports Extra professors, Dwayne Ballin, says the best packages tell a story.
Whatever it is, tell a story. You want to connect and tell a good story. And that's the key. And that's not something you get overnight. You begin to recognize it.
After interviews are completed and editing is done, the package is ready to air. But even if a package tells a good story, it still has to connect to viewers.
Viewers should feel more connected to Carolina athletics and think, hey, cool story about something I probably wouldn't have ever thought about.
You can get people interested with sports figures, but you can hold them when you can tell them stories that relate to everyday people that they can understand and they can actually access and go, you know, I get that. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
When you tune into Sports Extra, that's what we want to do. Tell you stories. From Chapel Hill, I'm Caleb Waters, reporting.
It really is impressive how much time it takes to put together 1 minute of video.
At the beginning of the month, ESPN anchor Stuart Scott passed away after a long battle with cancer.
A lot of us here at Sports Extra looked up to Scott. He was living the dream, and he was a Tar Heel.
So this show tonight is dedicated to him, a man that was always as cool as the other side of the pillow.
Thanks for watching. Good night.